Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the Bitcoin chart. Okay, so just thought I'd update you with some counts just to show basically that we're still in that 5 wave move down, still getting started. We still haven't seen anything yet. I just want to go over a couple of waves to sort of indicate how I see this. So what I see happening here after we had wave 2, I believe we had this wave 1. Right, this wave 1, very strange looking, but I think it started off choppy, as I mentioned in the beginning, due to upward pressure. So we made a 1, choppy 2, 3, and then a 4, and then a 5. So wave 1 or I, and then we had a pretty sharp wave 2, the one that came back to retest break of head and shoulders, roughly speaking, right? I don't really use those patterns. I just make an example of them because they can be used on the chart. Now, I just want to zoom in to this area for this move here. So I'm going to go to 1 minute chart, just this little wave here. And I just want to show you how small some of these waves are that I've noticed and how they make sense for this idea that it's a wave 2 there and nothing else. And I'll show you how clear this is even at the small degree. It's not always easy, but sometimes you get lucky and you see them pretty quick, and that's a good sign usually. So we had wave A, okay, wave A zigzag, small wave B, small wave C, a little bigger wave D, and then an E, right? Can you see how that E is a 5 wave move and it's the last move before you get a pull back turnaround jump shot, right? Can you see what happened after that? See, that's the type of thing that happens in wave E's. You get a turnaround, smackdown. What are we looking at the larger degree? This whole move up for the last, month or two or whatever. It's a wave E, right? Wave E eventually will turn around and create this kind of pattern. Okay. The difference between this correction and the one that you saw or you've been seeing lately in Bitcoin since, last year, whatever, is it's basically this ABC scenario, was happening on a smaller degree up the top. D made this move and then big wave E. Right, so the A wave was certainly smaller. Everything was pretty small. The D wave made its move, and then you saw this large move up, and that's when everybody got bullish cryptos. Right, I'm talking larger degree here. This is an example of what E wave does. Sometimes E wave can be pretty big. Right, it can be bigger than sometimes all the rest of the patterns, but you got to make sure that you identify them correctly first in order to make that call. Right, so moving down lower, what am I seeing? Okay, we saw the first wave. We're looking at the third of a third wave, right? So we saw wave 1, 2. I believe the next wave 1 ended here, right? Not going to bother labeling this. It's a third of a third wave. I just want to show the pattern, right? So here, so far, you could see that the correction is expanding to the downside, which means there's weakness, right? This is why wave 3s get longer and sharper, is because the corrections don't really go up much, right? They tend to skew to the direction of the trend because there's so much pressure building in that direction. And these sideways corrections on the larger degrees, you can barely see them, right? But this is a zoomed in version of what one day you won't even look at because it's such a small degree, right? But just for educational purposes, right? The first move was an A, right? The next move was a B. The B was pretty big, right? Right? A, B, C, right? The next move is a C, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yes, sure, it doesn't look quite right for a 5 wave move, but you can see a 1 sharp 2, a 3, sideways 4, and a 5. Any rules broken? Well, it's a type 2 weak 5 wave move, right? Where each wave moves up in 5 waves, but because it's weak, obviously the trend is down, waves 4 overlaps with well, basically wave 1 and 2, right? And it's weak. That's fine. What about this move? Looks like a D to me, right? You could try and make it look like it could be potentially like a 5-wave move, maybe, but it doesn't really add up that much, to be honest. Specifically because you're looking at this particular move here. So I suppose if that's an A, this could be a B, but the C wave's a bit short. C, D, yeah, that could be. It could be a D wave in progress still, right? So that'd mean that B wave expanded could potentially, like for example, right? Look how small A wave is. So anything that's sort of moving up is small. A, small. C, weak, small, right? D could potentially still be in progress. Obviously, if we go above this high right there, right, then that would invalidate the idea that this is a wave D, right? It could just be DE, right? Now, mind you, at this point in time, am I making such a call like that? Well, who cares? It's such a low degree, and we're still waiting for just price to move down. I just like reporting on the waves. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that could pass as an A wave, because an A in brackets, right? So this D would probably still be a little bit off, just a little bit, right? And this could be wave A, right? Potentially this could be B up here, and then C, right? And then we could see E bounce. Now remember those waves, they're pretty small, the ones that move up. So, once we get down here, whatever, could see a little move up for E, right? Could be sharp, might even go a little bit higher. And then you'll get the smackdown, right? For third of a third wave, right? So knowing what to expect, you observe the chart becomes fun. And then you can anticipate moves, play this little game with yourself. Are you right or wrong? Can you get better from doing that? Absolutely, you can. You can improve your analysis all the time. There's no reason why not to. Unless you're just in it for the money and you don't care. Well, this channel is probably not going to be the best because I'll carry on a lot. However, you might get value anyway, regardless. But yeah, that's my view on this. And another thing I want to talk about quickly is once we get to a certain length in this move, right? There's always this symmetry between patterns, right? So if you have, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, whatever, you probably get down to a certain level, right? Like, for example, it depends, right? If this is a third of a third wave, right, we could go straight down, right? Or alternatively, if this is like a 1, 2, and 3 just goes down here, 4, right? Bloody mouse. 5, for example, right? Then you might get a little bit of sideways, wave 2, right? Weak, shallow, sideways, whatever, and then down. Now you'll notice that there's a bit of symmetry when that happens, right? Because it's a fractal pattern, okay? It doesn't always happen this way, okay? It might not do this at all. Sometimes I just like to show this in case it happens. But if we're talking about a third wave down, typically they should get sharper, okay? So if we're going to expect some kind of symmetry to look like this, well, that's cute, but it's not important, right? It doesn't matter. And the reason I'm saying this sort of thing is because it kind of depends on the kind of move here that we're seeing. In case people are thinking that this is like an A wave correction down, right? Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it like this, right? Just say, well, this can't be an A wave already done, right? Because there's nothing to indicate that it is. For example, you have wave one, right? You have a, just say this is A wave, right? You have a B, well, C wave's too long already, right? It doesn't make sense, okay? Now, once this 5 wave move makes its move to where it's going, whatever, right? Like I said, like just before I just put those things on the chart there, right? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, and then 5, and then how can I say this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So let's just say that's wave A, right, of a zigzag, right? Then you'd have to see, a fairly decent bounce, 0.618 or whatever, 50% for, wave B, right? For whatever reason. And then you'd have to see a wave C, right? Now, if you think that it's going up, right, which obviously I don't, but I'm just trying to make an example here, right? Now, let's just say this starts to happen, except it's not a zigzag, it's wave 3, right? And Ellioticians are here with their fib, right? They're just here with their fib, and they go, oh, it's going to 50%. Oh, it's going to 0.618. Oh, it's 0.78. Oh, shit, I'm wrong, right? That type of thing can happen. I think it will happen. People might also think, oh, this is a sharp correction. So whenever it gets to any kind of level, they might take it as a sign to go long because they're so bullish, right? And at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, given how many people think that this move up in Bitcoin is mega bullish, right? Now, if for some reason I had to be bullish, for whatever reason came up that I was completely wrong with my analysis, and I have to look for an entry point, what would I do? How would I do it? Easy. All I do is wait for a full correction to unfold. It would by then give me all the evidence I need to realize that I'm wrong at a certain point, depending on how the correction turns out, right? It would produce a certain pattern that would indicate I'm wrong, right? We can't just make a zigzag here and me still think we're going to go wave 3 down. It's not going to happen, right? So that's why it pays to go short at the right time, so then you can be wrong if you need to be wrong, but don't lose money, all the time, right? Some traders, well, most traders lose often. It's just they get onto some good trades sometimes that make good money. Okay, just know that that's normal. So that's my take on this at this point in time. We're still waiting on that small degree stuff to unfold. Yeah, it's taking time. It's taking its time. It's expanding to the downside. It'll be interesting to see how this looks as it moves down. But once again, just an example from like, how can I say it? From a wave E perspective, right? There can be a level of symmetry going on, but as you can see from this wave E up here at small degree, right? You did have some tiny bit of symmetry on the way down, right? And then it just kept going, right? Like, for example, why would that happen? Well, think about it. Who's looking at the chart? Ellioticians maybe, or other people who follow waves or whatever, right? They'd be looking at this and at that 5 wave spot here, right? You'd get like let's just say, for example, you get a 5 wave move up like this, right? Oh, it broke the last high, whatever. I'm mega bullish. So I see a 5-wave move, and then I see a zigzag, sort of zigzag forming. See how choppy it is all the way down, right? You would have seen this here. You would have pulled out a fib. You would have thought, okay, at this point, maybe it's 0.618. Maybe that's a zigzag. Keeps going lower. Oh, maybe it's 0.786. Keeps going lower. Oh, this and that. Breaks the low, you know, causes stops to be hit, goes up a bit, continues lower, doesn't care, right? That's only a small degree example of what I'm saying. When people think that wave E's are bullish, this has probably happened at many different levels over history and whatever, right? I'm just trying to make a point here of when this can happen, but I'm also trying to make a point that if you were looking for that move up, for example, in this, if this was a 5-wave move, right? Apart from potential that the correction might have been completely different than this, right? You may have seen an ABC bounce around this area or expand or whatever, but you would have seen it and you would go, oh, okay, maybe that's something there, and take the trade. But we never saw that, right? You wouldn't just jump in like that too quickly. I think it's not a good idea to do that. If you see a setup that looks like it's about to pop, even if it's a short-term trade or whatever, if you don't know the bigger pattern and you just want to trade small moves, whatever, well, you'd have to look for that setup in the right kind of way, right? But obviously, there are some moves that are just not worth trades that are just not worth taking because the risk reward is not there, which is why we're shorting Bitcoin and probably going down to 8,000 or less, right? Um, I'm presenting quite a few different views for this, how it could turn out, but mostly just bearish, and keep an eye out on the waves along the way and make sure that we understand what's going on. If we get to any point in time where something doesn't make sense, well, just work harder because the information is all on the chart. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.